Hello and welcome back to another Tea Time with me, Amanda Prochaska. I have a special guest today. Susan Walsh is a dear friend of mine. She is known as the classification guru. And I thought it would be awesome to have Susan on because we've been seeing each other lately here in the United States. So appreciative of you traveling here to the States, Susan.
Always
I
fun.
Yes, and we've had some conversations about what everyone's talking about these days, and that's agentic AI, AI in general, and data. And that seems to be your sweet spot. You have a lot of knowledge in this, and with all the conversation about AI, it's been about the what, right? What is AI? What's agentic AI? What's like what versus the how, and I would like to start transitioning into the how, and the how starts with data. So welcome to the show today, Susan.
Thanks so much for having me. So
Yes,
exciting.
I know, and we were just chatting before this, so we might see each other again this fall, so I'm
Oh,
looking forward to
hopefully,
that too.
yeah.
Yes. All right, so let's talk. Well, let's start with an introduction. I think most of my audience probably knows you, but let's start with a brief introduction of who you are and your company itself.
Thanks. Actually, you'd be surprised. So a lot of people will I see at events and they're like, "You're that data lady, or you're that singing lady, or you've got the dolls." And so kind of people kind of know who I am, but don't really know who I am, which is good. Still, but yeah, I am founder and MD of the Classification Guru. We are a spend data classification, supplier normalization, customized taxonomy consultancy, I guess, that has now uh branched out into like vendor master cleaning, CRM cleaning, ERP cleaning, all that messy stuff, the jobs that nobody else wants to do and that are so messy even tech can't clean them. Because believe it or not, as good as tech is, there's a lot of areas that it still can't decipher like really messy data. So we've just hit our 8 year
Oh my gosh,
anniversary, which
congrats.
I can't even believe. But I've been doing this for about 13 years. So a lot of experience, particularly in the procurement spend data space. Literally when I started this in 2017, people thought I was nuts, like just talking about classification and cleaning of data. Like everything back then was outsourced, dashboards, spend analytics. It was none of it was done in-house. And there's been a huge shift over those years to most of it being done in-house. And there's lots of great people out there that can build dashboards and do analytics, but there's still not that many people that know how to properly clean or classify data. So we still see a lot of opportunity out there. And actually the reality is we've been talking about clean data for decades, since
Yes.
paper-based days. Like it's something that never goes away. And I think it's one of those things that, even with all the technology in the world, still need the garbage man to come and pick up our rubbish every week or every other week. There's some things that will always just need a little bit of a human touch, and cleaning data is probably in that same category.
Well, and you just brought up, I don't even know if you realize this, you just brought up a data issue that I've noticed with my kids. So one of their ballet directresses is from the UK, and
Ah,
she calls a garbage can a rubbish can. So
yeah,
even you could have the same item, if you will,
yeah.
but it's called two different things depending on where you are in the world. That's
Oh, yeah.
very hard to decipher at times. As you go back and forth
Yeah,
between
and
different
de
countries.
depending on languages too, like
Yeah.
the same word can mean very different things in different languages as well. So you have to be careful. So I don't know if you've heard about France and ChatGPT.
No. What's going on
So
there?
so basically in France, because they'll say it like ChatGPT, which actually sounds like my cat is peeing.
Yes.
And so ChatGPT is like there's instead of saying ChatGPT, they kind of are saying they think they're saying my cat is peeing. So
That's so true. I should have
yeah.
known that. I studied French in college, but yes, that is so funny.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
because you lived in France. Sorry, sidetrack.
I did live in France for a while. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit about data and AI. And let's talk about what excites you first. And then we'll talk like think about the how a little bit more. But what's exciting you about that intersection between data and AI?
The opportunities. I'm actually currently writing. So I wrote a book called Between the Spreadsheets. The second edition's coming out in September. In addition to that, I'm writing a sales and marketing book that will be out in 2026. And I've literally just done a chapter on Gen AI in both books. And one of the things that I wrote was the possibilities are endless. The only thing that's going to stop us is our own imaginations when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But also the opportunities. I'm excited for me because all of this, the whole foundation of all of this is on clean data. So the thing that I have been talking about for years and years and years and years might actually finally get like some budget and some focus and not just be an afterthought. So I'm excited about that.
Okay. Well, I'm excited about it too because one of the reasons why I started writing on LinkedIn back in the day was I was sitting at a conference and I don't know, it was about 12 years into my career at that moment in time. And two topics were our beta is dead. What are we going to do to fix it? And I was like, we've been talking about this for 12 years now. And then the other topic was getting a seat at the table. And I was like, all right, enough. Like either we're asking the wrong questions or we just like the answers that we're getting. Like
I
that was
think
my conclusion.
so there was no table, there wasn't even a room when I started my business. I built my
Yeah.
own freaking building, you know. Um, don't wait to be invited into something. Just build your own thing. You know,
Yeah,
that's my attitude.
absolutely. And you see that every single day. And your own building is full of pink and purple
Sparkles,
sparkles.
yeah, you know, there's nobody to tell me that something is not a good idea, which is
Right.
fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So if a company is thinking about agentic AI or other AI applications, what fundamental data practices should they be considering before they move into that new AI tool set?
Um, so I think the reality is most organizations are not ready for AI and Gen AI yet. They don't have the foundations right, which is I've got a framework called the data code, which is make sure your
Yeah.
data is consistent, organized, accurate, and trustworthy. And that first part drives everything, consistency. And there's no consistency. We talked about language there, but what about the
Mhm.
different units of measure over the world, the different date formats, how we input things? Is it uppercase, lowercase, mixed case? You know, everyone's doing something slightly differently. If we don't have documentation and processes on how to do things properly at the very start of the process, everything that follows is going to be wonky or not
Mhm.
work or wrong. And how often do you hear, oh, this new tool's rubbish, it doesn't work, we're not going to use it, we're going back to Excel.
Yeah.
And it's the only reason it doesn't work is because you didn't clean your data first.
We actually had a client just recently who called and they were like, we just went back to paper. And I was like, paper? And they're like, yeah, there's something wrong with the system. And it was a combination of some data issues, but it was also config issues that we came across there. But it happens quite often. And it's interesting because you have all these amazing technologies that are coming out, but then you have the reality of the world of
Yeah.
people still using Excel, paper, uh,
Faxes too.
fax
I had
machines. Yeah.
client in the education sector and they still use faxes, but so I think so does healthcare in some instances as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Green screen AS400s. We have a client
I mean,
using one of those
what's
today.
the privacy laws about that kind of stuff as well?
Right. So there is a bit of disparity. So focus on creating your processes with data around code, which is what you just described, I think is a great starting point. From your experience, when you see clients trying to go into this next frontier, no matter where they're starting from, what are those kind of most common data quality issues that you're coming across when those organizations are heading in that direction?
It's going to be things like typos are probably the most common. Then it's going to be, and particularly with supplier names, spaces, no spaces, dashes, dots. Are you spelling it out limited or is it LTD? Is it Inc. Incorporated? Or not even adding that on. There are so many different versions of the same supplier, which makes it tricky. There
Yeah.
can be a lot of missing information too. And sometimes it's things like tax ID. Well, actually, a lot of time it's things like tax IDs, which are very hard to source like publicly. I wouldn't trust. It's very hard to get the legitimate information unless it's like a really, something like a tool like Graphite actually, where the client is actually putting their own ID in, so it's come from a good source.
Right.
Um, that's missing, and then that's a lot of work to get that information because really then the best bet is to either get a tool or contact each supplier individually to get that information. Missing phone numbers, missing parts of addresses, even things like states, are they abbreviated or are they spelled out fully? But even things like, is it North Carolina or N Carolina, or is it NC, or is it N.C. Like all these different things happen in all the data sets.
Yeah.
And it very much depends on who's inputting it, whether it's one of your team, whether it's your supplier. Um, and there are like kind of gatekeeping, activities that you can put in your system to stop people like putting text in a phone number column. You can transfer it all to uppercase, so there are things you can put in place to kind of prevent some of these things happening. But a lot of it is down to people and training, I think.
Yeah. We were just looking at some client data. We were engaged to do duplicate vendor rationalization as part of supplier onboarding onto a tool. And we
Yeah.
noticed that in the data, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the vendor name was duplicated into the first address field.
Yes,
And
I see
then
that as
the
well.
address was actually in the second address, but it wasn't all
Hmm.
the time. It was just some of the time. And so it made it very tricky
I've
to
just
analyze the
finished
data.
a CRM project, 250,000 rows of data like that. It was crazy. And I actually had some of them had phone numbers as the supplier name.
Oh, wow.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, that
All
was
right.
fun.
So if someone is considering going to AI, and using their own master data to help drive the learning process of the LLM, how how could they engage you to accelerate their success in that area? What services are you providing to clients who are looking at this?
What we can do is we can take that data, and often it comes from multiple source systems as well, particularly if it's global data. We'll standardize it. We will normalize those suppliers. We've launched a tool called samification, which literally you drop a file onto a website page, and within anything from 5 minutes to a couple of hours, you'll get a file back. I'm actually currently normalizing 144,000 suppliers in the tool, so that's probably going to run till overnight.
Yes.
But but yeah, we'll do things like that. And actually, soon, samification, spoiler alert, will have some 1 to 2 level classification on like the most frequently occurring suppliers. So like
Nice.
we've got like 9,000 instances of Amazon in there,
Right.
or McDonald's and KFC come up quite a lot. Because you see all the travel expenses and
You're
stuff like
right.
that. We
Right.
classify a lot of that too. So we would then, we could do something as simple as a classification by supplier, a really simple level, or we can go into like invoice line detail and really give you and help you build a detailed taxonomy. We've done that for a few beverage companies. Um, you know, and we build the taxonomy as we're classifying the data. So I know there's tools out there that can scan the data and build something, but between myself and the rest of the team, we've got over 30 years experience. So it's,
Yeah.
we just know stuff.
Right. Right. You know the
And
ins
then
and
we can
outs for the.
package it all
Yeah.
back, give it to them. And most of the projects we do are one-offs. I actually would rather not manage someone else's data. I think it's really important to own and manage your own data and be responsible for it. But we will help you and our clients get to a stage where they can then manage it themselves, use automation, use tools, and then continue with it.
Okay, fantastic. So, what piece of advice would you give a procurement leader who is looking to have their data AI ready?
Go and spot check your data. So take a pivot table and sort it by supplier name and then categorization level 1 and 2. Like just do that. And then just start scanning and look for wherever there's like multiple categorizations per supplier, you'll have like a blank gap where there's more than one. So you can start to see quickly where there's multiple categories. Sometimes that's legitimate, sometimes it's not. And then the other way you can flip that round is sort it by your category level 1 first and then your suppliers. And so look at all your travel and look at all the suppliers in there. Is there anything that sticks out that shouldn't be in there? And if you're finding that there are a lot of suppliers in the wrong place, then you've got a bigger problem. And don't just kind of cheat and focus on your top 20 suppliers or your top 80% of spend, because that's probably not where your problems are going to be.
Yeah.
And you could do that in 5-10 minutes, and just that will at least give you a bit of a picture around what is actually going on here. Do we need to do more digging?
Okay. And so they do that work, they find that there are issues. How do they get in contact with you to learn more about the services you provide and how to engage with you?
Well, as she said, I'm kind of all over the place, but Susan at theclassificationguru.com is a good place, theclassificationguru.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn and send me a message, ask me a question. Um, Always happy to like give some advice or have an initial call and just, sometimes we speak to people who think that their data is really bad and they really need help. And I can say, look, actually, all you need to do is this, and you don't need our help for it. Sometimes it's not as bad as you think it is. I think it can become an overwhelming task. We can help break it down into smaller parts and actually look at what you really need. Because a lot of times we find what clients think they need is not actually what they need.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
absolutely.
find that as well.
Oh, yeah, I do. I do. And you know what, Susan, one thing that I do want to recognize about you, and I think anyone that looks to engage with you, they will see the same thing. You have an absolute passion for what you do, but not only for what you do, but for the clients you serve. And I think that is a huge differentiator in what you do. You, at the end of the day, just want to do what's best for your client. And whether that's engaging with them on a project or just giving them advice to set them off in the right direction, you are a great resource for them with whatever is related to data that they need to discuss. So please reach out to Susan, follow her on LinkedIn, because not only does Susan know what she's talking about, she also has a lot of fun on LinkedIn. So if you need a laugh every once in a while, if you want to join along and lip sync, Susan is definitely the girl to follow on LinkedIn.
Honestly, it's such a good filter. So anyone who likes my humor, my style, we work really well together. Anyone who's not so keen on my style, they tend not to reach out, and they're probably not the right people. But I always try to just treat. I always feel like I'm part of the team whenever I work with a client. It's we're working together to achieve the same thing.
Absolutely. If you loved hearing from Susan today and this video in general, please hit the like button and the subscribe. Yes, please do that, because we love bringing content to you like this. Anything related to digital transformation, change management, or procurement, we cover the board. We're not only talking to wonderful people like Susan, but we'll go deep into different topics along the way. So please follow us. And Susan, thanks again. I hope to see you in the fall. And yes, and cheers to you.
Yeah, thanks.